This right here is the ZapIt GameWave. Time to review it. What do you mean you never heard of the GameWave? Well, I certainly can't blame you, because I certainly had never heard of this thing up until making this video. So, the GameWave was made by ZapIt Games in 2005. It is currently known as the only console that is exclusive to Canada, as well as a very limited release in the United States. And honestly, calling it a game console is kind of a stretch, because in reality, it's essentially a DVD player / game console hybrid system, where basically if you've ever played some of those like mini games that came as like special features on DVD movies, essentially it was a glorified version of that. Basically, it was their attempt at making a low-cost game console that was basically for the whole family. Majority of its games are pretty basic. They range from basic puzzle games to trivia games, and oddly enough, some biblical-focused games, but we'll get into that later. And of course, it doubled as a DVD player. It was a device that tried to capture the casual game market, which was pretty much already dominated by the Nintendo Wii. For the very, very few people who owned one of these, it was known to be quite a flop. Because at the end of the day, it was basically a glorified DVD player with pretty lackluster games. If you could even call them games. I wouldn't really say that ZapIt Games didn't try with the GameWave, because they certainly did. It was an interesting concept on paper, but the execution was pretty lackluster. It certainly didn't help that ZapIt Games basically had no experience with the gaming industry. Plus, not to mention that the CEO of the company later on was found guilty of fraud. Lovely. I won't be getting into the specifics about ZapIt Games themselves. There's a few videos online that kind of detail the backstory of the company itself. This is mainly just going to be a first impression, hands-on experience with the GameWave. And I say firsthand because I haven't even touched this thing. I ordered it about a few weeks ago, and it just got here, and I'm just now having time to sit down and play around with it. So this is all going to be a first-hand experience. So my reactions are going to be genuinely like first time. I have no idea if this thing works either. The listing did say that it was tested, so we'll have to see for ourselves. And I did also get a couple of games with it as well. Let's take a closer look at this thing. So, right off the bat, in terms of design, I actually kind of like it. Oddly enough, pretty aptly named. It's a game console in the shape of a wave. It's definitely an interesting look, and it definitely gives a very unique appearance. Pretty much the entire thing is made of this plastic on the top. Same thing goes with like the front. And then on the back and the bottom is made out of metal. The build quality overall, just with first impressions, actually feels not too bad. Obviously, it's not as premium as, say, like your Nintendo Wii or your PS2 or even the Xbox 360 and PS3 later on when this thing was released. But just as a cheap DVD player that doubled as a game console, not too bad. Looks like we've got our power switch on the front. We've also got this IR receiver, which I'm guessing that's for the wireless remotes. The open and close button for the disc tray. And then on the side here, this isn't actually attached to the console. Basically, this is where you store your controllers. And they pretty much look like any standard DVD player remote. Build quality feels all right, I guess. I have definitely felt worse remotes for devices before. Buttons actually feel pretty all right. They're a little on the mushy side, but that's really any media remote from this time. My unit came with 3 additional remotes, and then it looks like this thing can use up to 6, I think. Unlike the console itself, the build quality of the controller holder is pretty cheap, to say the least. But you know, it works. It's usable, so that's really the most important thing, I guess. Looks like on the top we have an air vent. I highly doubt this thing even has any cooling fans because, well, it's basically at its core a DVD player. Most DVD players, besides like the high-end home theater players of the time, didn't really need any additional cooling. On the back, it looks like the only outputs that we have is composite video and S-video. There's no component video, not even HDMI, but honestly that doesn't surprise me given the price of this thing when it was released. And then I was looking closer at this particular port. It says expansion port on there, but I honestly have no idea what that does. And not even looking at the documentation online for this thing. I have a PDF copy of the instruction manual. All it says is that it's an auxiliary port, but it doesn't specifically say what that's for. I'm not entirely sure. If I were to guess, I want to say maybe this is used for like debugging or like developing games for the system, because I know that they did have dev units of some sort for the GameWave. But other than that, not entirely sure. And then, of course, we have our hardwired AC power cord. Now, before we go any further, I first want to get this thing hooked up and see if it at least works. Plugged into power, plugged into the TV. So, let's see if this works. Okay, looks like we have a startup sequence. And it pretty much looks like a pretty bog standard DVD player main menu. Let's just see if the disc tray at least opens. Really slowly, but it does. Cool. We'll have to see later if this thing can still read discs or not. But for now, let's just navigate through the menu on this thing. So let's see, there's a menu button on the remote. Let's start there. Oh, wait. I don't know why I was pointing this at the TV when the console's right over there. Okay, looks like we've got some movie settings, viewing mode, normal and widescreen. Let's do widescreen. Audio language, pretty standard language settings. Menu language, again, pretty standard. Let's see, system memory. Looks like this is our memory management for our game saves. So, interesting. Looks like we've got 498 blocks free, whatever that equates to. And that's pretty much all the settings that we have. Pretty basic. All right, let's check out what we got for games for this thing. So it looks like first we have a game called Gems. Looks to be a pretty bog standard Bejeweled ripoff, and yeah, looks pretty similar to it. And the disc pretty much looks brand new. Nice. Can I just say that these are like the cheapest game cases I've ever felt? Oh, yeah. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. Looks like we've got a game called Letter Zap. This one's actually sealed. Interesting. And looks to be, yeah, pretty much word search. Whoa, exciting. We've got Sudoku. This one's also sealed. I'm not very good at Sudoku, but we'll probably have to give this one a try as well. We've got a game called Rewind, relive the events of our past, which it looks like this must be some sort of, trivia game. And let's see here, over 20 hours of rich multimedia entertainment. With this game being from 2005, I can imagine the trivia questions on this game are probably way, way out of date. Looks like that one is, well, it's got a little bit of a smudge there. But other than that, it's, yeah, pretty much brand new as well. We've got another trivia game, 4 Degrees, The Arc of Trivia, Volume 1. And kind of reminds me of Trivia Pursuit. Interesting. I do also see here, complimentary game not for sale. So this must have been a pack-in title, maybe. Yep, barely any scratches on that one. This game is called Click, a race to solve the mystery puzzle, which, oh, it's like Wheel of Fortune. Interesting. That one looks clean as well. And then our last game is Lock 5, the ultimate combination of luck and strategy. I've seen something similar to this before. I can't quite remember what this is based off of. There's a few smudges on this one. This might be our worst one yet, but honestly, that'll buff out perfectly fine. So as you can probably tell, the game library for the GameWave is pretty basic, to say the least. I remember reading online before I ordered this thing that there was only about 10, maybe 15 games ever released for this thing. And this was on the market from 2005 up until like 2009 or so. Most of those games were pretty much like these ones. Some basic puzzle games as well as some basic trivia games. And then oddly enough, late in the console's lifespan, they started releasing some biblical-based titles, which at least at that point in time, the GameWave was doing so bad in terms of sales that ZapIt Games decided to change their marketing to a Christian audience to make it like a quote-unquote family-friendly console as opposed to the competition. So at that point, they made a couple of biblical-based games. There was a Bible trivia game, and then oddly enough, there was a licensed VeggieTales game for this console. An exclusive title too, and I think it might have been one of the only third-party games ever released on this thing. When the only third-party game that you can brag about on your console is frickin' VeggieTales, you know that you got a pretty terrible console on your hands. All right, let's see if the disk drive works on this thing. So we'll put in a game and see if it reads. It's taking an awfully long time to load though. Which doesn't surprise me, because most DVD players from this time, I remember, did not have very fast loading mechanisms. They were pretty slow. Wow, and I thought my family's crappy Dell Dimension from the time was slow with loading games. This is atrocious. Come on, GameWave, you can do it. Ooh. Nice little splash screen. Nitric. Whoa, okay, that's loud, that's loud, that's loud, that's loud. But yeah, looks like it works. This will be interesting to see how the gameplay is on this thing, because I played a bunch of those like little mini games that were included as bonus features on DVDs growing up, and I remember like with each press of the button it would have to like load the next sequence, so there'd be like a little bit of a pause. I'm really hoping that's not the case with this, because that is going to be quite annoying. But let's just do classic gems. And of course it has to load again, so that's not a good sign. Oh my god, the animations are freaking terrible. I mean, it looks relatively okay, like from a graphics standpoint, but a good majority of this is probably just like pre-rendered. Oh, but those animations, oh my goodness. It's a lot more playable than I was expecting, though. I was expecting it to, like, make a move, pause, then show the animation, pause, make a move, pause, and so on. But no, that's actually a lot better than I was expecting. I like how they use the exact same shapes as in Bejeweled. They just swapped around the colors. I see what you did there, ZapIt Games. It's not great, but honestly, I was expecting worse. So I just found out something. When you want to switch games, basically the whole system has to reboot. So I just ejected the previous game that I was playing and just put in click here. And I saw the system like completely rebooted and then had to reload everything. So that's annoying. I will say I'm honestly really surprised that the batteries are still good in this thing. Because though, yeah, those look like the original batteries that came with the remote. And it still works perfectly fine. Okay, can I just play this with one remote, maybe? Huh. No, I cannot. Oh, wait, there we go. Everyone joined? Yes, it's just me because I'm a loner. Let's see if you can enter your names. This is the first test. I didn't study, though! Oh my god, this is so clunky. My name is... Okay, so this is literally just like Wheel of Fortune, except without the wheel. I'm gonna guess D. Wow. Thanks, buddy. As if I didn't have crappy self-esteem already. How about L? M. Well, that's fine too. Oh my god. The navigation is so slow. Literally, watch this. There is such a huge delay with moving between the letters. That is awful. Wager 1,000 points to solve the puzzle? No. Do not trust myself with that. Yeah, it looks like it's pretty much Wheel of Fortune, but a lot less fun. No surprise. All right, we're going to do one more here. Let's play some Sudoku, even though I have absolutely no idea how to play the game. I could see how to play, but let's embarrass ourselves. Let's just go straight into it. Wait, what? Out of memory, we wish to hold the whole sky, but we never will. Okay. It's like a philosophical, like, I don't know what you would call it. Haiku, that's what I wanted to say. When I saw Out of Memory, I thought it was talking about the console itself. I'm like, oh no, that's not good. Let's do No Sweat, the easiest difficulty. Oh, that's a lovely sound. Thank you for that. All right. I have no idea how to play this game. I'm guessing we probably have to use the numerical buttons here. Yep, okay. Let's just press random ones. Oh my god, it's so slow. It's a little quicker than that click game that we played, but still not great. Okay, last one. Okay. What am I supposed to do now? Oh. Well, I mean, we got 4 right. That's a lot better than I was expecting. Oh, we can change the theme? How about Nature Walk? Yeah, not really much I can say. It's Sudoku, a game that I have no idea how to play. So, yeah. All right, one last thing. Let's see how this thing plays a DVD. I'm guessing since those games worked, I'd imagine that a DVD will work perfectly fine as well. Yep, it's playing perfectly fine. Let's try fast forwarding. Okay, that works. Oh my god, stop, stop! Stopping works. Okay. Let's see. Pausing works. Looks like we've got a pop-up menu as well. So let's try like skipping ahead. Okay, looks like that works. Let's go back to the title. Okay, that also works. Yeah, no surprise, it plays DVDs back perfectly fine. And so that was the GameWave. I gotta say, first impressions were kind of a mixed bag. Um, I was expecting worse, but at the same time, I was somewhat surprised in some cases. Yeah, it's it's pretty much exactly what I expected. A glorified DVD player that it's basically like if a game console only had games that came as like special features on your standard DVD releases. Nothing too exciting, to say the least. So that begs the question, should you buy a ZapIt GameWave? And well, honestly, to answer that, I would say that you would have to be kind of an insane nerd like I am in order to go out and seek one of these because yeah, it is a pretty rare console, but at the same time, at least as of recording this video, it's pretty much useless. As you saw, there's really not much going for it. It's basically a DVD player that plays quote unquote games. So I can't imagine anybody is out there perusing eBay and sees this thing. It's like, oh yeah, collector's item. I need to have this. I mainly got it just because, well, I'd never heard of this thing and I thought it would be a really interesting video. I didn't really pay very much for this bundle. I think it was about like 35 bucks plus shipping. So, in terms of prices online, at least as of recording this video, um, the systems themselves can go between like 30 and 50 from what I've seen, and the games themselves are pretty much worthless. Except oddly enough, there was one game that was exclusive to India, I want to say. I actually didn't know this, but apparently this system must have also been released in some other countries other than Canada. But apparently there was an India exclusive title. I have no idea what it's called. I think it's some sort of trivia game as well. But that one is actually pretty expensive to come by. But for the most part, from what I've seen with the more common titles, yeah, they're pretty much worthless. But due to the rarity of this thing, that may be subject to change. I can't really say for certain. Who knows? Maybe in the next 5, 10, 15 years from now, maybe this thing will actually become an expensive collector's item. I am not entirely sure. Can't really say. And if you're wondering about the homebrew and modding community, it's pretty much non existent for this thing. And even if there is a community for it, with it being such a strange game console, I highly doubt that even if you could do homebrew on this thing, it wouldn't be all that sophisticated, to say the least, or all that interesting. But if any of you out there have any knowledge about possible homebrewing with this thing, definitely let me know. I'd be interested to see.